Hey guys, welcome to the video lesson for 6.6 day 2. Now day 1 was all about the distributive property and day 2 is actually the reverse, which is called factoring. So let's read the math book definition first. It says when numeric or algebraic expressions are written as a product of their factors, the process is called factoring. So you probably have no idea what that means. I don't really know what it means that much either, but let me show you what factoring is. So this says we are going to factor the expression 12 plus 8. Now I want you to think of this like reducing fractions in a way, because watch, I'll put the 8 on top just to make it simple. If you were reducing 8/12, you would divide by the greatest common factor. The biggest thing that goes into 8 and 12 is 4, and you would get 2/3, right? So I want you to watch how factoring is very similar and how these numbers here will look after I factor. So let me get started. First off, when we're factoring, we're looking for the biggest thing that goes into 12 and 8, which remember over here was 4. So 4, it gets factored out, and then I open up my parentheses here. Now, to get my inside numbers, well, this plus sign is going to come down. I just have to figure out how many times does 4 go into 12, which is 3. How many times does 4 go into 8, which is 2. You see how there the 3 and the 2 are what my fraction reduced to? So another way to think of it is 12 and 8 divided by 4, and 12 divided by 4 is 3, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and that's factoring. Now factoring is the reverse of distributing, because if I distribute this one, I'll do 4 times 3, which is 12, and 4 times 2, which is 8, and I'll start with my original expression. So it's just the opposite of distributing. All right, we're going to do a couple problems down below. So on this page, the practice problems have just numbers in them. On the next page, the practice problems will have variables in them. So think of h like if we were reducing a fraction 9/21, right? You would be looking for the biggest thing that goes into 9 and 21. So can you think of it? Well, the biggest thing that goes into 9 and 21 is actually 3. So once I figure that out, I write that down, and I get my parentheses and my plus sign ready to go. So now the next question is, how many times does 3 go into 9, which is 3? And how many times does 3 go into 21, which is 7? Now remember, if you were reducing this fraction 9/21, you would divide by 3, and you'd get 3/7, which looks a lot like the 3 plus the 7. All right, now the next one to the right, I'm going to guide you through a little bit less. So here is the first thing I want you to think of. The biggest thing that can go into 14 and 28. And that number gets factored out right there. Once you figure out that number, then I want you to figure out how many times does it go into 14? Write that here. How many times does it go into 28? Write that here. Let's see if you can do it. Pause the video and go. All right, did you get it? So this one's a little tricky, because if you put a 7 there, you got tricked. The biggest thing that goes into 14 and 28 is actually 14. And 14 goes into itself 1 time, and 14 goes into 28 2 times. So if you had 7, you would have said 7 went into 14 twice, and 7 went into 28 4 times. But notice that 2 and 4, if you think of it like the fraction 2/4 could still be reduced, 2 and 4 you could still factor out a 2. So that's why how you have to be aware, if you don't factor out the biggest thing, your answer will be wrong. All right, now let's move over to the one on the right. We have J. So in this one, I'm going to have you do this one by your own. So think of the biggest thing that goes into 80 and 56, and write that down. And then decide how many times does it go into 80, how many times does it go into 56. Pause the video, restart it when you're done. Go. All right, did you get it? So the biggest thing that goes into 80 and 56 is actually 8. And 8 goes into 80 10 times, and 8 goes into 56 7 times. So that one's done. 8 times the sum of 10 plus 7. Now, let's turn to the next page. This is where you are going to factor them when they have a variable involved. So let me show you example 5. Now I'm going to get some workspace first. Okay, I have my workspace, and now we're going to factor 3x plus 15. So just like before, I'm looking for the biggest thing that goes into the 3 and the 15, which is 3. So that 3 gets factored out. Now watch here. When I say 3 goes into 3 one time, that is true, but remember this is 3x. So 3 goes into 3x 1x times. Bring down my plus sign. And 3 goes into 15 5 times. So that's how it looks when you factor 3x plus 15. But I'm going to show you something that you have to do here. Now, you see how this says 1x? Whenever you have 1x, we just say, why say 1x? It's just x is 1x, right? So what we do is we erase that 1. Oops, sorry. Let me undo that because I forgot I had that over there. So what you do, let me try that again, is you erase your 1. So your answer is 3 times x plus 5. Now watch when I distribute it. You'll see how I get the original expression. 3 times x is 3x plus 3 times 5 is 15, which is exactly that up there. All right, so let's go down and we'll do a couple below. So I'll do k with you. So first thing, I want you to think of the biggest thing that goes into the 16 and the 4x. Now, the biggest thing that goes into them is 4, right? So how many times does 4 go into 16? Well, it goes in 4 times. Now, how many times does 4 go into 4x? It goes in 1x time. Don't forget to write that x. Now, do you remember what I showed you above? Remember how we have to erase that 1? So anytime you have 1x when you're factoring, you want to write that as just x. All right. Now, I'm going to help you a little bit, but a little bit less with problem L. So the first thing, I want you to think of the biggest thing that goes into 7 and 42, and that goes here. Then, how many times does it go into 7x? How many times does it go into 42? Write those there and there. So pause the video, try problem L, and restart it when you're done. Go. All right, so let's see what you came up with. So the biggest thing that goes into 7 and 42 is actually 7. Now, 7 goes into 7x 1x times. Remember, I don't have to write the 1x. I can just write the x. 7 goes into 42 6 times, because 7 times 6 is 42. So if you had 7 times x plus 6 in parentheses, you did it correctly. All right, one more here. I want you to do this one by yourself. Pause the video, restart it, and when you're done, restart it and see if you were right. Go. All right, how'd you do? So first, did you find the biggest thing that you can factor out of 36 and 30? Biggest thing that goes into both is 6. So are you still in it at that point? Did you factor out a 6? Now, 6 goes into 36 6 times, but don't forget it is 6x. A lot of people forget to write that x down when they're doing this. Don't forget it. And then 6 goes into the 30 5 times. There's no x there, so it's just 5. If you add 6 times 6x plus 5, give yourself a C. All right, so you are done with the video for today. If you are absent, I know you have some more problems to do, so you're going to do those on your own. And if you need any help, make sure you ask me. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.